The Samouni family perhaps sum up how the war has had such a devastating effect few can actually comprehend. 30 members of the family were killed in one Israeli attack. Nawar Samouni was in another house at the time, and she gave birth as bombs fell around her. Shireen Tadros has her story.
Her escape was miraculous, but she describes her survival as a tragedy. 37-year-old Nawar Samouni gave birth as Israeli troops shelled around her home and an airstrike hit the side of it. As she brought life into the world, she could hear screams of death. This is the first time Nawar speaks out about her story, holding tight the other daughter she almost lost.
My mother delivered my baby and she put her on the floor. She came 3 weeks early. There was fluid coming out of her nose. But the placenta wouldn't come out. It took another 2 hours. I was so scared. We ran from the house, but we hadn't even got to the end of the road when another missile hit our home. And we realized my daughter, this one here, was still inside. I wasn't well, I wasn't thinking. Her father went back and found her standing on the dresser and she was crying, "Daddy, Daddy." He grabbed her and ran, and then another missile hit the house.
The accounts of what happened to the extended Samouni family in Zeitoun are slowly emerging. Nawar and her family told us about being huddled in a single house with dead and injured family and neighbors. Paramedics were prevented by the Israeli army from entering the area for days. We went to see what's left of Nawar's house. Her husband Majid showed us the room his wife gave birth in. The floor their baby daughter spent her first few minutes on. The smell of dirt and blood here was overwhelming. Their children described the escape. Saying that they were shot at by Israeli soldiers who looked on laughing. We found Nawar's mother sitting near the house where she says her son was killed the same day as the rest of the family escaped. Since the end of the war, she hasn't moved from this spot. She described how she delivered her granddaughter.
It was night time and there was no electricity, so we held up a candle to see. The strikes and the shellings was all around us. The window was open and the baby started throwing up. She was very cold, so I put her in a blanket. I tried to take out the placenta, but there were more strikes, so it wouldn't come out for another 2 hours. And then Nawar started bleeding heavily. I cut the umbilical cord with a knife as it was around the baby's neck.
As we spoke to the people here, their horror stories echoed around the area that's witnessed what many are calling a massacre. Their accounts of mothers, brothers and sisters killed in front of their eyes beginning to emerge. And now, those from the Samouni household that survived Israel's actions are homeless, their livelihoods gone. This land, once one of Gaza's most beautiful and fertile, has become a graveyard full of memories that cannot be buried. Shireen Tadros, Aljazeera, at the Samouni house, Zeitoun.